Step 2, hydration. So water, very important. Other than air, water is the second most important nutrient that we put into our body. It's actually not even food. Like anything else I'm going to be talking about today, it's not just the quantity. You've heard drink 8 glasses of water a day. It's also the quality. So let's look at the different types of water and see what is best for the human body. So let's look at first unfiltered tap water. So number one, you want to look at the source. So where I'm living right now, sort of out in the country, my tap is actually tapped into a aquifer, a spring. So the water that comes out of my tap is actually natural spring water. But for most of you, that's probably not the case. The rest, like the city I live in Burlington, Ontario, is they get their drinking water from Lake Ontario, which is the same pool of water that is our wastewater. So everything we flush down the toilet goes into Lake Ontario, and then we filter it through a chemical filtration process, and then we drink that water. That's what comes out of the taps. The only thing with that is that it's not really tested for pharmaceuticals, and it's very important to do that if you are drinking treated wastewater. Another thing of the chemical process is that chlorine is what the main thing that they use in tap water is known to wipe out your good or beneficial gut bacteria. So I'll just give you a little hint though, like if you are going to drink tap water and you don't really give a damn and you're not going to spend any damned money spending on a filter or whatever because you're just too stubborn, even if you put tap water into a jug and leave it out overnight, chlorine will tend to evaporate quite a bit on its own. So if you're just going to do that, leave it out overnight. Another thing though that is at least in our tap water, and it's been taken out of a lot of systems because it's been known to do a lot of bad things, is fluoride. But again, where I live in Burlington, Ontario, and I think in other places in the GTA, they still use fluoride, and we know that fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. We know that it is a neurotoxin. Again, they're still using old science though that's saying it's good for the bones and good for this and that, but it's completely unnecessary and the known bad things that it does to a human body far outweigh any benefits that it would have, but it really doesn't have any. I really don't know why we keep doing it. It's ridiculous. Okay, so that's tap water. Let's move on to carbon filter tap water, such as a Brita. Okay, so they basically use activated carbon. And what you need to know is that activated carbon absorbs. It doesn't just filter and stay clean. It actually absorbs things into it, which is good. And it removes a lot of the chlorine and to some degree heavy metals and pesticides. It's not great for filtering things like fungus, bacteria, and viruses. This is fine if you're going to be using that to filter spring water, like what I'm doing, but not contaminated water, because the viruses and the bacteria are different, and they're going to be in different quantities. And in fact, in spring water, there are microdoses of viruses and bacteria that actually act when you drink it. So when I drink my unfiltered spring water, it actually helps to build the immune system because the doses are in homeopathic doses. So it actually builds up your immune system and lets your body know the dangers of the environment that you're currently living. That's just how humans evolved and how our immune system actually evolved once you understand how the immune system works. It does filter pharmaceuticals to a degree, but how much depends on which drug you look at and which study you look at. But again, it's like how much poison is okay for you. We call the Brita the better than nothing approach to water. Okay, so if you're a better than nothing kind of person, maybe that's for you. Okay, but just remember that it does absorb. So if you don't change it, then basically it becomes more dirty. When you put water in there through a Brita filter that's completely clogged up, it actually will make the water even more dirty and more toxic to you. So you got to make sure that you change it. Okay. Another type of water we're going to look at is reverse osmosis. So how this works is that it pushes the water through a membrane with very high pressure, and it removes basically everything. It's pretty good at filtering things out. It leaves you with clean water, but it leaves you with what is called naked water. So naked water is basically, pure H2O. The thing with human beings and water, though, is that we're trying to get basically a certain salination of water. So we have a certain mineral salt content that works really well for us. It's about 300 parts per million. So if you are going to use reverse osmosis filter, you do want to remineralize that water, because even though it takes all the bad stuff out, it takes all the good stuff out with it. It takes all those mineral salts out. Now you can easily do that with just a pinch of Celtic sea salt or a pinch of Himalayan salt in every glass. That might even be a little bit too much, half a pinch, right? So reverse osmosis, pretty good option. So I would say that's better than a Brita filter for sure. So natural spring water, this is my favorite one. And I know I'll probably get a lot of pushback on this with because it comes in plastic, but I have a solution for you. So listen. So natural spring water, so these are found in the aquifers of the earth. So they're naturally filtered through rocks. So the rock actually gives that water the mineral. So when you run water over stone or rock, it actually sort of takes away and chips away at that rock over time and mineralizes the water to a degree. So this is what humans basically drank throughout history. And they're deep enough usually to shelter from environmental toxins that might seep into the ground. They're naturally filtered through stone, like I said, and UV light. So when the water comes out through the aquifer that's underground and it comes out and exposes it to UV light, that also helps to clean the water. In fact, here at the facility, we have a UV light filter and carbon filter. There's 3 filters on that damn thing. It's pretty good. The thing is that they do come in plastic a lot. So they mostly come in BPA free plastics nowadays, but there's a lot of other issues. There's a lot of other things in plastic other than but bisphenol A, which is BPA. And there's environmental issues as well. Microplastics are being found everywhere, and just plastic in general is not a good idea for the earth. So what do? You can go to places like the water shop or your nearest water store and basically set up a subscription where spring water is delivered to you in big glass jugs every week or whatever. Now, is that going to be more expensive than buying the 24 pack of was it Nestle water every week? Yeah, it is probably going to be, but you've got to remember, this is water, and like I said, this is the number 2 nutrient that you put into your body. So the takeaway point here is get spring water. Start drinking spring water. Yeah, it's the best. Reverse osmosis would be a second, and then I wouldn't really go any lower than that. I will make a special mention to a Berkey filtration system. So Berkey is a home filtration system, and I think you can just get them for your taps as well. But they claim, and the reviews are very good on this too, to take just the bad stuff out and more of it out than just a regular reverse osmosis and still leave the mineral salts in. So that's sort of like a one-time setup thing that you can do with Berkey. But that is the takeaway point. Basically, spring water, if you can get it, if you're on a well, you're fine. You might want to get the water tested just in case, but then in glass containers is the second best. Okay. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and if you found the content useful and you really think it's going to make a better version of yourself and stronger version of yourself, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing and hit that bell icon as well. And lastly, please leave a comment, as I'd like to know your opinion on this topic and what else you'd like to hear about. So thanks again, guys, and stay strong.